are the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdulmajid Tebboune, extends his sincere condolences to his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, following the fire which broke out today in northwestern Turkey, causing numerous casualties. The President of the Republic receives the members of the High Council of Youth Office, led by Mustafa Hidawi, Minister of Youth and President of the Council. Army General Saad Shingiriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the PNA, received his Ugandan counterpart, Army General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, Chief of the Ugandan People's Defense Forces. Algeria chaired today the Security Council's ministerial meeting in New York on the fight against terrorism in Africa. We will listen to the State Minister Ahmed Attaf later on. Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's news. And following the tragic fire that broke out on January 21st at a resort in Bolu, northwest of Turkey, which resulted in numerous casualties and injuries, the President of the Republic, Abdulmajid Tebboune, extended his heartfelt condolences to his brother Recep Tayyip Erdogan, as well as to the government and the people of Turkey. President Tebboune expressed his deep sympathy and solidarity with the families of the victims, praying Allah Almighty to grant his mercy to the deceased and wishing a swift recovery to those injured. And the President of the Republic, Abdulmajid Tebboune, today received members of the board of the High Council of Youth, led by Mustafa Hidawi, Minister of Youth and President of the Council. The meeting was attended by the Principal Private Secretary to the President of the Republic, Boualam Boualam, and the Advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of the General Director of Communication, Canal Sidi Said. And following the reception of members of the Higher Youth Council Office by the President of the Republic, the Minister of Youth and President of the Council stated that the Council members presented the President with a range of concerns, aspirations and recommendations resulting from the Council's various activities.
حظيت رفقة زملائي أعضاء مكتب المجلس الأعلى للشباب.
My colleagues and I, members of the High Council of Youth, were received by the President of the Republic, Abdulmajid Tebboune. During the meeting, we presented the concerns, aspirations and recommendations which emerged from various activities organized by the High Council of Youth at both national and local levels, which involved diverse categories of youth, including those from education and vocational training, entrepreneurship, startups, knowledge and economy, media and communication sector, as well as those engaged in environmental and sustainable development, which we met through the past year, marked by dynamism and constant interaction with our youth. We brought to the President's attention the concerns raised by these numerous groups. The President of the Republic was attentive to the concerns raised by my colleagues and responded positively and constructively to their proposals. And as usual, he was a great supporter to the Algerian youth for it to be part of the national dynamic witnessed by Algeria. The speech of the President of the Republic and the talks held with us was marked by a high level of responsibility, honesty and transparency for what could be achieved today and in the future. What marked us the most is the President's deep sincerity when addressing the youth, as well as his unwavering faith in the capacities of our Algerian youth.
Hidawi also affirmed to the President the active participation of the Council office members in national efforts to strengthen social cohesion and national unity.
أكدنا للسيد رئيس الجمهورية انخراطنا في المسائل.
We assured the President our commitment to national efforts aimed at strengthening unity and national cohesion while elevating our consciousness as youth to align ourselves with the initiatives of public authorities in order to develop our country even more and to face all plots targeting Algeria. It was indeed a rich and varied meeting. We will work with God's willing to implement the various recommendations adopted presented by the President in coordination with the different governmental sectors and concerned organizations, so that our youth can see their aspirations achieved in many areas. This is the path of the new Algeria that we work for under the leadership of the President of the Republic, to strengthen the ties of communication and dialogue and evoke the concerns and aspirations of our youth. The President of the Republic didn't forget, as usual, to mention the youth of the community settled abroad, whom he has always considered as part of the national fabric and the national dynamism. He urged us, as always, to double our efforts so that the Algerian youth settled abroad are fully integrated into this dynamic. The President of the Republic also blessed the efforts deployed by the Higher Council of Youth in reaching out to our African regional environment through various initiatives. He encouraged us to continue working to connect with African and Arab youth and be open to diverse experiences, and to invite both Arab and African youth to visit Algeria and discover the country's vast potential and capabilities. This was a rich and diverse meeting, marking a turning point in our various encounters with the President, as we will continue with God's willing our work for the glory, progress and happiness of the Algerian youth.
لعزة ولتطور ولسؤدد الشباب الجزائري.
And the Army General Said Chingiriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the PNA, received today at the headquarters of the People's National Army Muhsi Kainerugaba, Chief of Ugandan People's Defense Forces, who is on a working visit to Algeria at the head of a high-level military delegation. Bainal Bhai reports.
The meeting was attended by the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Defense, force commanders, heads of departments and central directors of the General Staff of the National People's Army and the Ministry of National Defense, as well as members of the Ugandan delegation. During this meeting, the two parties examined the opportunities for bilateral military cooperation, as well as ways and means of consolidating coordination on issues of common interest. They also discussed the security challenges facing the world in general and the African continent in particular, and exchange views on various current issues.
يسعدني في البداية أن أرحب بكم وبالوفد المرافق لكم بمقر أركان الجيش الوطني الشعبي.
On this occasion, the Army General expressed his pleasure in welcoming the Ugandan delegation to the headquarters of the AMP. He mentioned that this visit presented an opportunity to strengthen bilateral military cooperation, which serves the mutual interests of both nations. He highlighted the significant progress in the relations between Algeria and Uganda in recent years, particularly marked by the frequent exchanges of visits between the two countries. The General of the Army also acknowledged the official visit of President of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, to Algeria in March 2023 at the invitation of President Abdelmajid Tebboune, which had given a strong boost to the cooperation process. He added that the visit had fostered a real momentum in their joint efforts, particularly in reinforcing their common commitment to African issues and promoting peace, security and development across the continent.
والأمن والتنمية في كل ربوع القار.
The Army General emphasized the AMP's commitment to implement the strategic vision of the leaders of both countries, aiming to strengthen the partnership between their respective armies. He noted that this would be achieved through the establishment of an effective, dynamic and military cooperation and the creation of appropriate mechanisms to facilitate this process. Finally, the General of the Army reiterated Algeria's full readiness to move forward in developing military cooperation between their institutions and the best interests of both countries. For his part, the Army General Muhoozi Kainerugaba praised the quality of the welcome he and his delegation received and expressed his satisfaction with the strong will displayed by the Algerian side to strengthen cooperation relations and consultations between the two countries on issues of common interest, capable of contributing to security and stability on the African continent. At the end of this meeting, the chief of the Ugandan People's Defense Forces signed the guest book of the General Staff of the National People's Army before the two parties exchanged symbolic gifts.
And the breaking news of tonight, a statement issued by the Ministry of National Defense, where it was announced that the security services of the PNA received the Spanish national Navarro Kanda Joaquim today in good health. He had been kidnapped on January 14, 2025, while on a tourist trip in the Algerian-Malian border region, specifically in the area of the 6th Military Region, by an armed gang consisting of 5 members. The individual was transported aboard a private plane from Tinswatin Airport in the 6th Military Region to the Bufaric Air Base in the 1st Military Region, where he will be later on handed over to the Spanish authorities. And tasked by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, chaired today a high-level UN Security Council meeting in New York on combating terrorism in Africa. This significant event, held as part of Algeria's presidency of the Security Council in January, aimed to address the growing expansion of terrorist activities in Africa and the threats on the security and stability of African nations. On this occasion, Minister Attaf affirmed Algeria's ongoing commitment to its responsibilities at the continental level, highlighting its role as a leader and coordinator within the African Union in the fields of counter-terrorism and violent extremism. This mandate was entrusted to President Tebboune by African heads of state and government. In this context, Algeria initiated today's session to sound the alarm on the critical situation caused by the spread of terrorism in Africa and to reaffirm the urgent need to revive international attention and momentum to combat this scourge effectively. Let's have a listen.
Fulfill its duties at the continental level in its capacity as the African Union's champion on combating terrorism and violent extremism, a high assignment that African heads of states and government have bestowed upon His Excellency President Abdelmajid Tebboune. This is also the background against which Algeria has taken the initiative of convening today's meeting to sound loudly the alarm about the critical situation created by the expansion of terrorism in Africa. Our aim is nothing but to stress the urgent need of reviving the global interest and reigniting the international momentum to seriously.
And on the sidelines of a supervision of the high-level meetings being held under Algeria's presidency of the UNSC, the Minister of State Ahmed Attaf had bilateral talks with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres in New York. The meeting provided an opportunity to strengthen joint efforts in upholding the principles of the UN Charter and addressing global peace and development challenges. Discussions also covered key regional and international issues, with a particular focus on the situation in the occupied Palestinian territories following the implementation of the recent ceasefire agreement. And as part of his diplomatic engagements, Algeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs Ahmed Attaf had bilateral talks with several counterparts from brotherly and friendly countries. The state minister met Slovakia's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and European Affairs Tanya Fayon, Somalia's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Ahmed Mualim Faki, as well as Tahir al-Ba'our, representative of the Libyan Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs Oliver Nduhu Nigeria, and the representative of the UK's Ministry of Foreign Commonwealth, Wealth and Development Affairs Hamish Falconer. As a special envoy of President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of Communication Mohamed Mziane was received in Bevan by Eswatini's Prime Minister Russell Dalmini, accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation. During the meeting, Minister Mziane delivered a letter from President Tebboune to King Mswati III, conveying fraternal greetings and expressing aspirations to strengthening the bonds of brotherhood and cooperation between Algeria and Eswatini. The letter emphasized the commitment to elevating bilateral relations to serve the mutual interest of both nations. In energy sector and cooperation, the first ministerial meeting of energy ministers concerned with the Southern Hydrogen Corridor project was held in Rome and culminated in the signing of a joint declaration of political intent of the project. The meeting was attended by the Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, Secretary of the State to the Minister of Energy, Secretary of State to the Foreign Affairs Ministry, CEO of Sonatrach Group and CEO of Sonalgaz Group, and executives of Sonatrach and Sonalgaz Groups.
The first meeting of energy ministers for the South Hydrogen Corridor project was held in Rome. The meeting concluded with a joint announcement reaffirming the country's commitment to green energy cooperation and linking Algerian production sites to the European Union.
Today we made a huge improvement in our strategy through the development of the South H2 Corridor project, which we consider crucial for all the participants. Algeria will have a pivotal role in hydrogen production and its shipment and marketing through this corridor to Europe. Algeria, through the strategy it has set, has launched several infrastructures specialized in green hydrogen production, starting from the solar and wind power plant.
Algeria's Energy Minister Mohamed Arqab attended alongside a high-level delegation, the CEOs of Sonatrach and Sonalgaz, and their counterparts, chief executive officers of the participating countries' companies, a seminar explaining the steps to realize this mega project.
The first step is to draw the roadmap to get the green energy directly from Algeria to Germany, which will be top importer, and I'm looking forward to that.
On the sidelines of the ministerial meeting, Arqab engaged in bilateral discussions with the representatives from several signatory countries. The talks centered on enhancing investment opportunities and sharing expertise.
To ensure the implementation of the agreed-upon import program to meet the demand for meat, which sees a rise in consumption during the fasting month, the Minister of Internal Trade and National Market Regulation announced today that importers will be required to bring more than 20,000 tons of red meat during the upcoming month of March, coinciding with the month of Ramadan. And tonight we are shedding light on one of the emblematic figures of the fight against colonialism. French by origin, but Algerian at heart, Maurice Audin remains a symbol of colonial repression. 70 years after his disappearance, his story still marks the minds. He was tortured and assassinated at 25 years old after his arrest by the French occupier. Rania Al-Bahri takes us back in time.
On June 10, 1957, Maurice Audin, a young activist fighting against French colonialism, tragically disappeared in Algiers, arrested by French parachute regiment led by Paul Ozares. He was tortured and murdered. His body was never found, and his fate remains a painful and unresolved part of history. A member of the Communist Party and a strong supporter of Algerian independence, Audin took part in many secret operations in Paris, often with the help of his sister Charlie and his brother Christian. Inspired by the Algerian fighters, he played a key role in the liberation struggle by providing shelter for the war veterans and helped the French soldiers who didn't want to fight in the colonial army to escape. These actions caught the attention of the French intelligence services, who captured him. After 10 days of brutal torture, they executed him. At just 25 years old, Maurice Audin became a symbol of Algerian resistance to French colonialism. His arrest and death, a reflection of the horrors of the French actions in Algeria, continue to spark debate in France. The French government has since acknowledged its responsibility for his death, which occurred while he was being tortured.
And the French colonialism has indeed committed endless crimes. Today we will unfold the story of a human zoo that France created with 400 African people in 1889. Najah Tayar.
At the Paris World's Fair on May 5, 1889, a distribution event unfolded, a human zoo, showcasing 400 men, women and children from French colonies confined in iron cages under the guise of celebrating their culture and exotism. These individuals were degraded, stripped of their dignity and displayed as objects of curiosity. Forced to wear traditional attire, they reenacted scenes from the daily life before an indifferent audience. The cages served as more than physical barriers, embodying the dehumanization and cruelty of the French colonization.
Mais lorsqu'ils sont arrivés sur le lieu,
when they arrived in the place where they were gathered, they found themselves exhibited together in a place like animals.
Effectivement, lorsque vous parlez du racisme,
when we talk racism, it's very important to tell the story of a human zoo, because I tell children, imagine today that we take you to a park and show you little green men and tell you that these little green men are wild and that you have to be careful, that you shouldn't go near them. The day you see a family of little green men in the road, you are going to be scared, and well, that's racism.
France's exploitation of African people stands as a stark reminder of its colonial brutality, built on the enslavement of populations and the plundering of resources to construct an illusory empire. This dark period exposes the hypocrisy of colonial rhetoric, which left behind a legacy of poverty, destruction and oppression. A glaring example of this cruelty was the human zoo, presented under the guise of anthropology curiosity. These degrading exhibitions not only humiliated those involved, but also served as means to profit from paying audiences. Such as atrocities reflect the unbroken continuity of France's oppression, exploitation and occupation of colonized peoples. Behind its humanist slogans and hollow treaties lies the reality of France's colonial history, marked by despicable crimes that history neither can overlook nor forgive.
And Moroccan authorities expelled 3 individuals from the occupied city of Dakhla in Western Sahara, including a journalist from a Spanish newspaper and 2 members of the State Coordinator of Solidarity Associations with Western Sahara. The activists were on a mission to observe the human rights situation of Sahrawi civilians and to protest on an airline's new direct flights to the city, which the association described as a complicity in the illegal occupation of Western Sahara. Today, the president of the Algerian Renault Council, Kamal Moula, met with Algerian employers' organizations where the discussions focused on the evolution of the business climate in Algeria, the role of Algerian companies in facing new economic challenges and issues arising from the global economic situation. The heads of the organizations praised Algeria's strong performance in 2024, emphasizing the importance of making progress to boost growth and unifying efforts to work as a force in order for Algeria to become a key economic player at both regional and continental levels. This afternoon, Mujahid Atman Doumarji, a hero of the battle on Libyan borders and a member of the Human Frog Unit responsible for marine operations during the Algerian War of Independence, was laid to rest at the Wald Jilal Cemetery. The deceased was awarded the National Merit Medal, ranked as Ahid in 2023. To Allah we belong, and to him we shall return. The artist and actor Alam Bouzid was laid to rest at the Qatar Cemetery in Algiers. The funeral was attended by the Minister of Culture and Arts, the late artist's family, his colleagues from the artistic field, and a large crowd of his admirers. The attendees bid farewell to the deceased with heavy hearts, recalling his significant contributions to theatre and music in Algeria. One of Algeria's symbols of creativity and dedication passed away at the age of 79, leaving behind a rich artistic legacy and timeless works marking Algerian culture. Under the patronage of the President of the Republic, the 20th edition of the Algeria International Quran Memorization and Recitation Competition officially began today at the National Army Club in Benin Sousse. The competition, overseen by the Minister of Religious Affairs, the Minister of Interior, along with several government members and diplomats accredited in Algeria, will run until January 26, coinciding with the night of Isra and Mi'raj. The top 3 winners will be honored during the closing ceremony. And that was it for tonight's news. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.